Welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast, presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville, here with Tyler Wiemann, and we are breaking down all the divisions ahead of the 2022-2023 NFL season, which is fast approaching.
Super quick. It's coming up. 2 more months.
It is coming up.
Love
so
it.
we have all your fantasy football advice, plus we've got your futures market odds. And we're going to talk about the breaking news today. That is Baker Mayfield.
It's very timely for us, too.
Carolina. So timely. We had planned this, and then it just popped up. Love when that happens. You know what else I love when it happens? When people sign up for LineStar.
I do, too.
Because it's just $19.99 per month. Prices do go up during the football season, so make sure you lock that in. $19.99. It's great value. You got to dominate your fantasy league. You know, you don't want to be the loser at the end of the season that has to do something silly, you know?
Truer words have never been spoken.
Have you ever been in that situation?
I have not.
Yeah, because you have LineStar,
Yes,
clearly.
Exactly.
Also, make sure to check out Underdog Best Ball. We'll include both of those links below. They've got their Best Ball tournament in again, which has a lot of money on the line.
Millionaires are going to be made. And if you're a new customer to Underdog, you can get a couple months free LineStar by signing up, depositing $10.
There you go. Link
Straight
below.
cash,
Go
homie.
click on it. Also, give us a like, subscribe to our channel so you can
Yes.
get all this content. And just keep up with us here. So we'll get into the biggest story of the day, which is Baker Mayfield traded to the Carolina Panthers for a 2024 conditional pick. Now, I kind of went into the odds a little bit. I was curious to see how things have shifted, and there weren't too significant of a changes. Obviously, Mayfield has to win the job, I guess.
Yeah, it's not for sure that he will.
Right.
Darnold is still there.
Darnold is still there, although he hasn't been good for the Panthers.
As long as Baker's healthy,
Healthy.
I think he's going to win the job.
And DraftKings Sportsbook kept actually the Carolina Panthers Super Bowl odds and odds to win the NFC pretty unchanged. They're still 130-1 for Super Bowl and 60-1 for the NFC. They did, however, increase their NFC South odds from 12-1 to 10-1. So a little boost, a little Baker boost.
I could see that. I mean, there's no way they're going to win the Super Bowl. So.
No. And I kind of don't see them winning the NFC South. But, you know, maybe Baker Mayfield can be the game changer that they need to get things going over there.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. Can't count them out, right? So another cool thing, a bettor after the trade was announced put $1,000 on the Panthers to win the NFC. So they're one of the believers that at 60-1 odds. Let's see. What else did people bet on? $10,000 for Baker to win the comeback player of the year, which would be a potential payout of $170,000.
Yeah, this one I do like. It is usually a quarterback that wins this, or quarterbacks have a higher likelihood of winning it. And he did play all season last season, which does make it a little weird. Is he really a comeback player?
That's true.
But he got hurt during the season, just played hurt.
He did play hurt.
Had a terrible season. I guess if he bounces back and has a good season.
I will get into some numbers on Baker.
I like it.
He might not. I know that everyone wants to kind of doubt him a little bit, but we have some stats that'll be coming up that show you maybe he was pretty good. And maybe the Browns will wish they had him week 1 when they face off, which is just incredible. Like, you couldn't have written that story any better that they meet in week 1.
I love that they meet in week 1. And the Browns probably won't have Deshaun Watson.
No, they're not going to have him.
I hope he just beats the Browns up. The revenge would just be so sweet.
You know, it's just like an ex, you know. 100%. You want to be like, next time you see him, you want to be looking good. You want to be at your best, right?
Yep. I get it.
All right. So we will get into the AFC North now, and starting from worst to first from last season's standings. And so we're starting off with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the AFC North used to be just basically dominated, by Steelers, and then the Ravens kind of took over a little bit, and now it's kind of like anyone's game. The Bengals came out. The Browns are better. So it's a really tough division now.
It's probably the Bengals division these days.
So looking at the Ravens last season, 8-9, of course, Lamar Jackson got hurt. So that was a huge loss to them. They were 6th in total yards per game, though, but they finished on a 6-game losing streak. So another loss for them. Hollywood Brown is out after his first 1,000-yard season. Also out is Sammy Watkins, Miles Boykin as well. They lost a lot of people here. Tight end Eric Tomlinson, running back Mike Davis, Tyson Williams, Latavius Murray is an unrestricted free agent, along with Devontae Freeman. So, getting back to Lamar Jackson now that he's missing a few weapons, how do you see this season kind of shaking out for the Ravens?
I'm very interested to watching passing attack. They don't have Brown, but they do have Bateman. Bateman will be healthy to start the season, which is a nice change for him. But it really depends on how much Bateman can take of that Hollywood role.
Absolutely. So Lamar Jackson. So listen to some of these stats, though, because I feel like there's a little bit of Lamar Jackson fatigue almost, like even in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't been the passer. And last year, because he got hurt, his rushing numbers weren't quite as good.
To your point, passing grade last year, 78.4, which was 21st among 60 quarterbacks with 30-plus dropbacks. So just to your point there.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing about Jackson is he is going to put the team in a position to win week after week.
Yeah. Listen to this stat. No quarterback in NFL history has averaged more fantasy points per game in a single season than Jackson back in 2019. And up and down 2020, let's see, he finished QB 9 in points per game, and he managed to beat this in 2021, QB 6 on a per game basis, though. And his average of 62.3 rushing yards per game, first in the NFL. QB 5 behind only Allen, Murray, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. What do you see for his fantasy value this season without some of his weapons?
I don't think his fantasy value is going to change too much without likely having these running backs for the start of the season. He's going to be asked to rush again, which is going to keep his value up. Bateman's pretty much going to take the Hollywood role, so I don't see a huge drop-off there. Andrews is a beast. Andrews is incredible. So, I mean, I think Lamar is going to end up being like a 2 second-tier fantasy quarterback behind, the Herberts and
Mahomes.
Allen, Mahomes.
You got it.
The real squad.
So you mentioned the running backs situation. We've got J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, who were basically the two-headed monster. But then all things came crashing down basically at the beginning of the season. So it was pretty disappointing for them. Dobbins was averaging 6 yards per carry as a rookie, and Edwards has averaged at least 5 yards per carry in each of his 3 seasons. However, injury has been a factor with them. So what do you expect? What can we realistically expect from the Ravens? They say everything's all good. They'll be fine. Do you buy it?
I mean, they may be fine come middle of the season. We just had a podcast with Dr. Chow yesterday, which will be coming out at any time now. And what did he say about the 6 scores and the health of these two?
Basically, he said, because it was more than an ACL for Dobbins, he expects him to miss at least the first 6 weeks of the season. And so he has these 6 scores, which is basically ranking them in terms of health. It stands for Sports Injury Central, which you can check out their page as well. So J.K. Dobbins, he gave a 6 score of 47 out of 100. Gus Edwards got a 61. Now, for reference, McCaffrey, Saquon, Dalvin Cook, they're in the 90s. So those are really low numbers. So not a lot of confidence in their health going into the season.
Kind of like both the guys are missing a leg. Weird.
That being said.
Yeah. I think there could be some value here as far as fantasy-wise for running backs. If these guys miss a couple games, maybe one of the backups can kind of run with the role for a little bit. I would definitely pay attention to camps for this month and see what's going on, because there's probably going to be a little bit of a drumbeat for one of the backups taking some role.
Keep an eye on that one. We will as well. Wide receivers, you mentioned Rashad Bateman at wide receiver 25 and Devin Duvernay, wide receiver 71. However, Baltimore wide receivers ranked dead last in targets and receiving yards since 2019, which isn't surprising considering the quarterback. Now, Bateman had groin injuries, mediocre numbers, but with Hollywood gone, he could have a lot better numbers.
Yeah, I think Bateman's in a pretty good spot here. I do like him. I also like Duvernay, especially in like a best ball draft where you don't have to worry about picking these big games. He's an explosive receiver with a lot of speed, and I would not be surprised if he's taking some of those deeper routes from the Browns no longer there to do.
And especially with the running back's health, they may get away from that run game or have to.
And they do use him with a lot of wide receiver screens and stuff, so he could be an extension of the running game as well. So I do like him, like kind of late best ball underdog pick.
How about tight end Mark Andrews, who's probably the most reliable of everyone on the field, especially also in terms of injuries too. 153 targets last season, which smashed his previous mark of 98. And he is, I guess, projected to be still a tight end 2.
I think he might take the tight end
awesome.
1 spot.
You think T1? Ooh.
I think he could.
Hot take.
He's going to get the targets, and that's the main thing here. Targets are king. And, Mahomes lost Hill, but he has more options to throw the ball to now than he did before. Before it was Hill and Kelsey, and that's all.
I don't know.
But
that's a tough one.
I think Mahomes can take it from him.
Okay. Let's look at the futures odds and see what else we can find a hot take on. Taking a look at their futures odds here, anything you want to jump on?
No, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to win the conference. And I don't think they're winning the division.
I might have to circle back to this. We'll see.
Yeah.
9.5
yes.
is the win total. Are you going over or under this mark?
I think everyone
seems to be going over this mark.
I think they're going to win 8 to 9 games, and I'm taking under. Plus 145.
I'm going over, I think. I'm going over this mark. Their strength of schedule is 23rd.
Yes.
Probably their toughest stretch is at New England. That's like September, October. Then they have Buffalo and Cincinnati, which will all be tough. I think this division could easily shake out, totally differently. It was kind of like last season. It was sort of anyone's division to win. And it was end up being the bank, Lamar Jackson got hurt. Yep. It looked kind of at the beginning like Lamar was going to take him there. So I could still see them winning the division.
And Lamar can. He's plus 2,000 for MVP. If they are making the playoffs, if they win the division, there's a really good chance it's because Lamar is MVP.
Exactly. So now let's take a look at the Cleveland Browns, who just lost Baker Mayfield, 8-9 last season. And offense finished 20th in points scored. So the Baker Mayfield era is officially over. Now Deshaun Watson is the guy. However, the looming, lawsuits and the NFL still hasn't handed down a punishment, which we are awaiting. It could be a lengthy one.
Yeah,
the last thing I heard was 4 games, though. So I'm not sure.
With how he did his contract and the Browns agreed to do his contract, I'm assuming he's out the entire year. Mm-hmm. Especially with how public the case has been, and Goodell has always been very worried about how that public, perception is.
Exactly. It's the shield.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, I do want to note that I know people have been down on Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
But I have to note some stats here. So, listen to this. Since entering the NFL, his 5.8 big-time throw rate actually ranks 5th in the NFL behind only Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Matt Stafford. And over his career, he's completed 1185 of his 1924 attempts, 61.6%. He's got 92 touchdowns to 56 interceptions. Only Rodgers, Wilson's, Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Stafford have recorded more big-time throws. I just think that's crazy. And I didn't realize that before I read it, and I was like, oh, wow.
I think the Panthers are kind of getting a steal at what they're paying for Mayfield, and I hope he wins the job because I think he could make DJ Moore pretty solid.
So this quarterback position for the Browns becomes interesting because we're still waiting on Deshaun Watson's status. Jacoby Brissett could be the guy that the Panthers see week 1. Yes. It's looking that way. And,
I would say more than likely that's how it is. Like I said, I think Watson's going to be out for the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if he is on the field, there's no doubt that from a purely number standpoint, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Absolutely.
And 2017, he was, for fantasy purposes, he was number 1 among quarterbacks. 2018, tied for 4th. 2019, 3rd. 2020, 6th. His average of 22 fantasy points per game, the 3rd highest mark in NFL history, behind only Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Now he goes into a situation, the Texans did not give him a great supporting cast. So now he's going into the 2nd-ranked offensive line and the top-ranked backfield.
Yeah, if you believe that Watson is going to play a majority of this season, you guys should be loading up on Brown's offensive pieces. Cooper's going way undervalued right now. Chubb is a great running back. Hunt is good. I would be loading up if I thought he was going to play.
Right. We're waiting for that result.
Yeah.
So are the odds books because they won't even give out a win total until this news kind of settles.
Yeah, I wouldn't either because the line's going to move so much.
Exactly.
Once that happens.
So let's take a look at some of the supporting cast, and we'll take a look at the running back situation. Nick Chubb, you mentioned, so Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, each of Chubb, Hunt, and even Johnson worked the most efficient rushers in 2021, and it's crazy to think that they all put up great numbers.
Yeah.
Even though they're splitting carries there. And it's looking like we'll see more of the same, especially if Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback. They're going to probably run the ball a lot, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to run the ball a lot regardless, but Chubb, with his ability to break tackles and just get into open space, if Watson's there, he's going to have a heyday. I just wish the Browns would just give him the ball. Just make it his show.
Yes.
We
need more.
Feed
the Georgia Bulldog. We love to see that.
Need more Chubb.
All right, let's move on to wide receiver and Amari Cooper in the house.
Yes.
Wide receiver 29. Then you've also got David Bell and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Cooper has played at least 14 games in every season of his career. That's a good sign. He averaged a steady 79.7 receptions for 1,056 yards and 7 touchdowns in his last 3 seasons with the Cowboys. But, of course, the underlying question for all of these players, is it going to be Watson or Brissett that's thrown to them?
To be honest, I think Cooper is being undervalued even with Brissett right now. if it's Watson, Cooper could be a top 10 wide receiver.
Oh, totally. He could be a number 1.
I wouldn't go that far. I think he's too inconsistent.
Like, look at DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes, but
type.
Throughout Cooper's career, it's not like he's
Yeah, you're right.
Like, he played with Prescott and was still up and down. He played with Carr up and down. Like, he hasn't had awful quarterbacks.
All right.
He just, like, I don't know. He just, like, forgets he's playing some days. Like, I don't know what's going on with him.
To your point, Cooper, his ADP has dipped all the way to wide receiver 30 at Underdog Fantasy, which, if you would like to enter their best ball tournament, the link is below. So just something to note there. So if the case is Watson plays, that's going to go up. Yeah. Browns snagged Purdue wide receiver David Bell in the 3rd round with the 99th pick. So watch out for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the receivers here are just too low right now, even if it's Brissett.
Tight end David Njoku, tight end 15 Harrison Bryant, tight end 42. Now, Njoku's one of the most popular sleepers right now because of his contract, paying him a lot of money.
He got his bag.
The only people that are making more money at that position, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, and Mark Andrews. Dallas Goedert. Yeah. So what are you expecting? Big things?
No, Harrison Bryant's still there. He's going to steal some tight end targets. I think Njoku is fine. Just fine.
Just fine. So
but like I don't see him being a, say, top 5 fantasy tight end.
Okay.
So I think he's streamer guy, just fine. Your favorite word.
All right. Let's take a look at the futures odds for the Cleveland Browns. And to win the division, plus 280. Although no win total for us to discuss. As previously mentioned, the Watson situation, sportsbooks are holding off on that one. The strength of schedule is they are tied for 17th in terms of the toughest schedule. I kind of looked and I saw they have a pretty tough October. They are at home for Chargers, New England. They are at Baltimore, and then they have the Bengals, which could be a tough stretch for them. That's October, November.
One thing I would say here is to win the Super Bowl plus 3,400 if Watson plays. I don't hate it.
Okay.
I don't hate it. I think the odds are good enough that it makes sense for a small bet.
Okay. If he's there for how much of the season would you take?
Like you said, if he has 4 games,
all over that.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see it.
I mean, it's because they have to make...
The Bengals. Look at the Bengals last season. Yeah,
they have to make the playoffs, obviously, which it will be hard for them to beat Cincinnati, but I think they could with Watson.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the Steelers. They were 9-7 last season. Big Ben's no longer there. So a new era in Pittsburgh. But Mike Tomlin's back for year 16. It's going to be weird for life without Big Ben and no Juju to do TikToks on people's logos. Well, what are we going to do?
Pittsburgh's back to business now.
Well, let's talk about the new quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who right now is projected to actually be QB 30, and I guess people are not thinking Trubisky is going to get this job.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it's Trubisky's job.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, Trubisky ranks 48th in his passing grade among 68 quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, he's not good. Although, I'm going to say that he has brought a Bears team to the playoffs. Like, he put the Bears in chances to win games, and I think he's going to do it again.
Well, he could. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't you remember that stretch when they were winning with Duck Hodges?
Oh, yeah, and Mason Rudolph, and
they can win without...
Tomlin is a great coach, and the supporting cast on this team is amazing. They are good on both sides of the ball, minus the quarterback.
The receivers are insane. We'll get to them in a moment.
Hey, Najee Harris is good too. The defense is lights out. Like, the team has all the pieces except for figuring out quarterback.
There you go. Let's talk about running back and Najee Harris, RB 24, and then you got behind him Benny Snell at RB 64. Mm-hmm. And of course, we always say volume is king in fantasy football. Yep. And Harris projects to have a lot of it.
Yeah, Snell's not going to take much again from him. Mm-hmm. Harris is a very good running back. Having a running quarterback could help him a little bit as well. However, he may not get quite as many dump-offs as he did last year with Big Ben that didn't have an arm.
One of the biggest threats with him was his receiving game there. So, and, but he does have a great fantasy projection. Yeah. Some people are projecting him at RB4.
And I get it. Its volume is king, like you said it again. Pittsburgh's offensive line isn't great. I think having a mobile quarterback will hide a little bit of that. And Harris still has to run behind that line. But
the offensive line ranks 30th.
Yeah. And the opposing defenses, though, will have to watch for the options with Trubisky, so they won't be able to key in on Harris quite as much.
All right, let's take a look at our wide receivers. We've got a nice group of them. Mm-hmm. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens. Go Dogs.
Mm-hmm. I just like the name Pickens.
It's great. It's a great name. Only Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and Cooper Kupp have more total targets over the past 2 seasons than Deontay Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Deontay is a very good receiver, and I really hope Claypool comes into his own a little bit. He is a beast, but he also has suffered from being a little inconsistent at times.
That is true. And Juju's not there, but Pickens is there. And my bold prediction is Pickens becomes wide receiver 1. Wow. This year? Mm-hmm. By the end of the season.
Wow. So
I think that might.
You think he has Rookie of the Year?
I think you could. Ooh. I think people haven't realized how good he is. And as a Georgia fan, I do realize it because I've seen him so much. And then he was out with the ACL. So people did see a little bit of it.
Do you think this is a little bit of a homer pick?
No. A homer pick? Me? Let's talk about. So that's I think at least wide receiver 2. Give me that.
That's a hot take. Claypool is very good. Johnson's very good.
They're both great. I just think people might be underestimating. All right.
I like it.
Well, maybe we'll have to bet on that.
Do you think Kenny Pickett's small little hands can get it to him?
Yeah. Jury's out on that. Tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Tight end 12, Zach Gentry behind him at tight end 48. Now, Freiermuth is good, and last year Big Ben went to him a lot.
Yeah, and I think he's probably getting a little overdrafted being tight end 12 with the quarterback situation. But, I mean, he's a solid tight end.
All right. Let's take a look at the Steelers' odds here. And to win in the division, it's plus 950. And let's take a look at their win total, 7.5. Strength of schedule, pretty middle of the pack there. Maybe a little bit tough, tied for 12th. What do you see from Steelers?
I'm going over, and I think 8 or 9 wins from them.
This is tough for me. I don't know. I don't see them getting it.
You're going to pick Pickens and then not pick the Steelers?
I don't know. That's why I said it's hard for me.
What kind of homer are you?
I don't know. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like every time I count the Steelers out, they end up winning a stretch of games, and I'm like, how are they doing that? Even last season with Big Ben, he was not at his prime at all.
Yeah, this is my take on him. One, I don't think Big Ben added to their team at all. The fact that their O-line was so bad and he couldn't move out of the way or throw the ball, he was a glorified game manager that didn't do it very well. Tomlin is a great coach. I think Trubisky can put them in position to win games by being mobile and running. The defense going to keep him into every single game. So as long as their offense is similar or slightly better, they hit over.
The thing that I hesitate on, though, is them having to face the Bengals and the Ravens.
I think even
the Browns. I think if they have Deshaun,
it depends
those are
on,
not
it depends
entirely
on
winnable games for them.
Without Deshaun, I think they take one from the Browns, take one from the Ravens. Cincinnati could beat them both times. But.
Yeah, they could. Speaking of the Bengals, let's get to it. Last season, of course, a magical season for the Bengals that ended with a loss in the Super Bowl to the Rams. But pretty awesome to see such an underdog come all the way. Basically, they were bottom of the barrel, and now they're favorites for the AFC North, which is pretty crazy. And the coaching staff is the same. You've got, I feel like of all the AFC North teams, this one has the most consistency.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, so not a lot of changes. Just to note some of them, I guess. Wide receiver Auden Tate to the Falcons. CJ Uzomah is now with the Jets. They did add tight end Hayden Hurst, who is an interesting one we'll get to for fantasy purposes. But the Bengals just declined to draft a single skill position player in the draft. They got guys, though. Yeah. They got some dudes.
Yeah, they're fine.
Of course, we got to talk about Joe Burrow, who's just been amazing. Back-to-back overall QB1 finishes in weeks 16 and 17. So if you had him on your fantasy football team, he probably won you a championship.
He won me $50K.
No way.
Yeah, week 16.
What? Oh, man. Yeah, you got to send a thank you note to him.
Thank you, Joe.
His passing grade was number 1 among 44 quarterbacks with 100-plus dropbacks. Just insane numbers for him. And the Bengals are actually projected to have one of the league's highest scoring offense. Once again, Joe Burrow, where does he rank in terms of fantasy quarterback value?
I think he could be pushing that tier of the top-end guys as far as fantasy. I see we have a projected QB 8 here, and I would say I would be hitting the over if you could bet that.
So let's talk about the running backs that will be in the backfield. Joe Mixon, RB11, nice. Samaje Perine, running back 60, and Chris Evans. Now, Mixon worked as the PPR running back 4 in 2021, scoring more fantasy points than every other running back other than Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, and Jonathan Taylor. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like Mixon a lot. He's a reliable, solid back, and I would draft him in a heartbeat this year.
Yeah, and Mixon averaged more yards per reception with a lower drop rate than Perine in 2021. Cincinnati really went into this offseason improving their offensive line. We saw how many times Joe Burrow got sacked in some of those playoff games, right? So they definitely needed to do that. So that could help the running backs a ton, and their fantasy value goes up with that as well.
Yes.
Wide receivers.
They are loaded.
Love this squad, man. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Chase off one of the best rookie seasons from a wide receiver in history. He has scored 34 touchdowns. Listen to this. In his last 35 professional and collegiate games. 34 and 35. That's pretty good. A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson are the only rookie wide receivers who average more yards per route than Chase over the past 5 years. Now, here's one thing to note, though. Burrow made some comments recently about having to rely less on explosive plays in 2022. So, do you see their fantasy values staying the same, going up, or going down?
I don't think you can expect Chase to have the same amount of explosive plays. A lot of the ones that he had, he broke a tackle or, some sort of juked a guy or whatever to make it. It's not like he was just wide open. People, this is the NFL. Like, you're not going to consistently break tackles.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he's great, but I would expect some regression from.
And it's interesting with T. Higgins too. When you're talking about Chase, Higgins, Boyd, just so many great receivers. But they're like Higgins and Chase are still going to be top 10, right?
Absolutely.
Top 12.
I like Higgins a lot. I like Chase. Both of them are very solid, which also brings me to the point of why I'm hitting the over on Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me he has 2 wide receivers that are going to finish as wide receiver ones, there's no way Burrow's at the back end of being a quarterback one.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if they are kind of changing things up on the offense, I still think, it all comes down to you give the ball to your playmakers.
And Boyd is good. Boyd is a very good receiver. Like they have a lot going for them.
Yes, he has met or exceeded ADP in each of the last 4 seasons.
He's another one where he's a little bit better on a underdog best ball team than he is on like a season long, just because it's so hard to figure out when he's going to have like his big game, and he will have a couple.
Tight end Hayden Hurst joins the squad. Tight end 22. Hayden Hurst flew under the radar just a tad because of all the offensive line improvements. But a lot of experts think that this could be one of the most impactful moves for the Bengals, which is a bold statement, but Hayden Hurst.
Burrow used his tight end a lot, and he could do that again too. Hurst is also a very good blocker, and so it could help the O-line as well.
Although Zach Taylor's offensive have ranked 27th and 30th in total targets, 2 tight ends over the past 2 seasons. However, I always felt like those targets were in the end zone. Yeah. It seemed like sometimes, like CJ Uzomah would have these like great games. So yeah. Let's take a look at their futures odds. This gets interesting. So they have the 10th shortest odds to win the Super Bowl, to win the conference plus 1,100, to win the division plus 180, which is second best. Win total over 10. Strength of schedule, 3rd toughest.
They got a hard one.
What are you thinking for their win total?
I am saying they're going to win 11 games, and I'm going over.
I am tending to agree with you. The improvement on the offensive line, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine Joe Burrow with an actual line that gives him even more time.
Well, it's hard to really quantify like the offensive line improvements until you've seen them work together, just because that position is such like a team reliant. Yeah. But regardless, like they have spent money and assets towards that. I would be shocked if it's not better.
So they do have a tough schedule, and some of the games I wanted to know was they are at Dallas, they are at New Orleans, they are at Tennessee. In December, this is their slate. At Tampa, at New England, which in December is a tough one. Yeah. Then they host Buffalo and Baltimore. I just think that'll be a really tough stretch, and that might kind of hinge their playoff hopes. It could be that window that really makes or breaks their season. It
will be tough for sure, but those at Dallas, at Saints, at Titans, I think all 3 they probably win.
Yes. So I don't know about Dallas. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Dallas.
All right.
Okay.
I think I'm going over for this. Yeah, so that's a look at our predictions for what's going on in the AFC North. A lot of people liking the Ravens, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to circle back on that. You didn't spill the beans. What you think there?
I kind of think the Ravens might win it.
Yeah, you like the Ravens to win the division, huh?
But
I can't get behind
it. Depends. Okay, if the running backs, I got to keep an eye on the health. That might, really inform my decision on that one.
Yes, I think that if those guys aren't healthy, Lamar is just asked to do too much.
And I think when he is asked to do too much is when he starts throwing interceptions and starts to,
And also get the banged up because he's having to rush the ball so much. Yeah,
exactly. All right. Well, just remember, if you want to play some best ball, make sure to click the link below to Underdog. You can enter. You can win millions of dollars, and there's no reason you shouldn't at least try, right?
Pretty soon, I think we might have to do a best ball draft on here.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
We can just have some fun with it with everybody. Go live. Try and get everybody else to join us.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So make sure to also sign up for LineStar ahead of football season. Those prices will go up during football season. It's still really reasonable, though. $19.99 is what you can get it right now. So make sure to click the link below. All the information you need to help you dominate your fantasy leagues. Basically, it has all the projections that you could possibly want. And it's in a format so that you don't have to go to any other site to check stats. You know, some of those sites, you just got to go over here and over there and you know, all over the place.
All the data you need, we got it.
It's got props, everything. So check it out, linestarapp.com. So be sure to check out all our other videos and previews of the other divisions. And we'll be back next week. So we'll see you then.
You guys have a good one. Happy to get football season going.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
All right.